Happy morning to all girls. Today we are going to see a new poem that is O Captain, My Captain and LG by Walt Whitman. First we are going to see about the poet, his life and works, how he started. Walt Whitman, 1819 to 1892, is one of the America's most significant 19th century poet, one of the most important poet. Walt Whitman was born May 31st, 1890 on Southampton, Long Island, New York. He was almost entirely self-education, especially admiring the work of Dante, Shakespeare and Homer. His mother described him as very good but strange. His birthplace of Walt Whitman from May 31, 1819, West Hills, New York. Some interesting facts about Walt Whitman. Walt was the second child of 9 of Walter Whitman and Louisa Van Wetzel. After the assassination of President Lincoln, he wrote a poem called O Captain, My Captain. Assassination means murder, killing. Four of Walt Whitman's early notebooks containing fragments and revisions of the poem Song of Myself were out of print from 1942 and only appeared again on February 24, 1995. Actually, how he started his career means he just started his career as a apprentice to a printer. A young man with a dream of becoming a famous poet, that is Walt Whitman. At the age of 17, he taught school, and then he was worked as a journal in the editor of Brooklyn Eagle, a respected newspaper, but was fired for his outspoken opposition to slavery. This is the place where he started his career as a journal. And then he worked as a Civil War nurse also. Teaching and jobs and his family. Before his true calling a poet, 5 years beginning in 1836, he taught school on Long Island. During this time, he also founded the weekly newspaper Long Islander. Walt Whitman married a feathered 3 children. He had a boy named Edward and 2 girls named Rachel and Hallie. So, Whitman's poetry. Whitman's first collection of Leaves of Grass. Okay. Whitman's declared his poetry would have long lines that captured the rhyme of natural speech. Free verses. He just taken a vocabulary down from everyday speech. And then a base is a reality, not a morality. So he gave the importance to the morality instead of Instead of morality, he gives the importance to the reality. The Leaves of Grass. This is the first collection of the Walt Whitman, a Southern journalist and slasher writer into a groundbreaking poet. The first collection of Leaves of Grass in the year of 1855. Open the poetry was dressed in a workman's clothing. He wanted his the title were added later. A song of myself, the sleepers, there was a child went forth, and I sing the baby electric. I sing the body electric are the most well known today. In these poems, Whitman turned his back on the literary of the past. He stressed the rhythms of common American speech, delighting in informal and slang expression. The second edition of Leaves of Grass. The first edition did not sell well, so Walt Whitman went for a second edition because of many critics were criticized his work. Emerson prized Whitman's poetry as the most extraordinary piece of wit and wisdom that America has yet to contribute. Some of the essential facts about the Leaves of Grass, largely self-taught. Walt Whitman was living in New York by age 14, supporting himself by learning is not a set type. Whitman self-published Leaves of Grass in 1855 when he was 36 years old. His career. Considered to be the most important American poet of the 19th century. His first novel, Franklin Avon. Many of the 400 poems contains musical terms, names of instruments, and names of composer. His themes were in his work relating to the soul, death, and immortality. So, when Whitman used these words written by Emerson's letter to Whitman, in a letter, Introduction to Leaves of Grass, Emerson was not amused. Some of the critics were like John Greenleaf Whittery, threw his copy of the book into the fireplace. Another critic dismissed it as just a barbaric yoke. So Longfellow and Holmes and Lowell were equally unimpressed about his book, that is Leaves of Grass. At last, the Avon trio was upheld by Whitman's poetry, and he was certainly no conformist. So the first edition did not sell well. Okay, so Walt Whitman went for a second edition and added 20 more poems to the second edition. In the first edition, it contains only 12 books. In the second edition, it contains more than 20 more poems. It was released in the year of 1856. Some of the new poems that were added were, that is a Crossing Brooklyn Ferry, and then Salute a Monday, and then Woman Waits for Me, and Spontaneous me, the edition did not sell well either. And the third edition also goes like this. The third edition of Leaves of Grass, when Whitman put his version out, it was actually published not on his own but by the Boston's publisher. He kept the first 32 poems and then added another 146 new ones. Not sure how this version sold. I can't find any more information on it. So, like that, the fourth edition also gone. Leaves of Grass. The fourth edition, it was canalized by his sexual inference. So, like that, they give a many names for the Leaves of Grass. So now, who is he? Who's his deal? Why were so many writers shocked by Whitman? His lack of a regular rhyme and meter. That means a lack of rhyme and meter. He was a free verses. He didn't follow any rules and regulations to the poetry. And non-traditional poetic style. There is a no tradition in his. He just follows the non-traditional poetic style, and subject matter shocked more traditional writers. So he also wrote a poetry with unabashedly sexual imagery and themes, some of them homoerotic. Example include the Clemens poems and I Sing the Body Electric. So these are the things make the other critics to criticize his works and dismissed. And then, O Captain, My Captain. Whitman wrote a poetry in praise of Abraham Lincoln. For his after his designations of Abraham Lincoln, he written two LG for Abraham Lincoln. One is O Captain, My Captain, and second one is When Leah's Last in the Dooryard Broom, and a LG written after the Lincoln's assassinations. O Captain, My Captain is a masterpiece. Lincoln's passing has the death of a great man and the death of the era he dominated. It was used to great effect in Dead Poets Society. So when it was written the O Captain, My Captain, it was during the Civil War. Okay, at the time 16th president of Abraham Lincoln was passed. It just murdered some person. So for him he dedicated the two poem that is in the form of an LG. And then what is an LG? An LG is a specific type of lyric poem. In an LG, the speaker thinks about death, usually has attribute one who has recently died. Generally, the tone is serious and the diction is formal. So first of all, an LG is a specific type of lyric poem. Okay, and then in an LG, the speaker thinks about death. Usually, it is a contribute to one who has recently died. Generally, the tone is serious. The voice is the word, emotional. And the diction is formal. It is a sad poem expressing a grief or a sorrow over the death of a person. So it is a sad poem. LG means it is a sad poem expressing a grief, expressing an emotional sorrow over the death of a person. It is usually someone the poet admired, allowed or respected. Sometimes it simply mourns the passing of all lives and beauty. It is usually someone the poet admired, the person one who admired about loved or a respected person upon a person. Sometimes it is simply mourns the passing of all lives and beauty. Some mourn a way of life that is gone forever. Some sadness is a way of life that is gone forever. Life that is gone forever. O Captain, My Captain by Walt Whitman has a great example of elegy. It uses a metaphor to compare Lincoln's life. So next we are going to see what is metaphor. The word metaphor comes from the ancient Greek word that is metaphorian. Okay, the word metaphor comes from the ancient Greek word metaphorian, which means to carry over or transfer. A metaphor carries meaning. Carries meaning, carry over, to transfer. Metaphor means carrying the meaning from one concept to another by stating or implying that one is the same or like to other. One is the same or like to other. So the concept, it is a metaphor carries a meaning one concept to another by stating or implifying that one is the same or like the other. Metaphor is a figure of speech. In which a word or a phrase has applied to an object or action to which it is not literally implicable. Metaphor is a kind of a figure of speech in which a word or a phrase it is implied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable. A thing regarded as a representative or symbolic of something else, especially something abstract. A thing regarded as a representative or symbolically of something else, especially something abstract. For example, here I gave a farmer of the sea. A farmer of the sea is, who is the farmer of the sea? Who getting a benefit from the sea means there is a fisherman. So that's why here farmer of the sea is a fisherman. Another one, I am a night owl. I am a night owl. That means someone who stays up late. Someone who stays up late, because owl is a bird which is always humming in the night time. It doesn't sleep in the night. So now, O Captain, My Captain. Walt Whitman wrote the poem after Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Assassination means it is a murder or a killing. So, Walt Whitman wrote the poem O Captain, My Captain after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. The ship spoken of is intended to represent the United States of America. So here the ship is a person one who is spoken of intended to represent the United States of America. While its fearful trip recalls the troubles of American Civil War. The titular, that means captain, is Lincoln himself. So, the O Captain, My Captain, it is an elegy Walt Whitman wrote after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. So it is about her fearful trip. Here fearful trips symbolizes the American Civil War. They just recall the troubles of American Civil War. At the time, Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president and he is the leader. Why the Civil War has happened, how it was ended, how Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, those things we are going to see in this next slide. First of all, O Captain, My Captain. Author is Walt Whitman. Already I told you. It was written and published in the year of 1865. The genre is metaphorical poem. A stanza is a 3-stanza. Each stanza contains 8 of lines, totally 24 lines. It was published in the age of 18th century, that means a Reconstruction period. The setting, the place where it was held, the poem sitting in that, a ship that is coming into harbor. So it was published in the 1865. It is a genre of metaphorical, and then it is a 3 stanza. Each stanza 8 of lines, totally 24 lines. The setting of the poem is a ship that is coming into harbor. So first, American Civil War. So American Civil War, United States of Americas. During the Civil War, it was 1861 to 65. Whitman took off to search for his brother George in Virginia. It was reported that George was hurt fighting the war. Whitman experienced the war firsthand. He worked in a paymaster's office where he saw the illness and death. Then he contracted hospital malaria. A few months later, he recovered and wrote a drum tips in 1865. War gave him the will. The American Civil War was also known as the war between the states. Got it? The war between the states. The war was fought between the United States of America Union and the Confederate States of America. So the fought between the United States of America, that means a union, and the Confederate between the States of America, Confederacy. The latter was a collection of 11 southern states that left the Union in 1860 and in 1861 and formed their own republic. The Confederacy wanted to protect their states' rights and the institution of slavery. In 1865, after the 4 years of battle, the Union overcame the Confederacy and abolished the slavery nationwide. In this time, Abraham Lincoln was a 16th president. Okay, he was a sympathized person, an emotional as well as an intelligent person, as well as a bravery man. The Civil War is already explained. The Union Army was a multinational one. Okay, the Civil War is the central event. The Civil War is a central event in America, is in American historical consciousness. When Abraham Lincoln won an election in the year of 1860 as the first Republic president on the platform, pledging to keep slavery out of the territories. Even a slave states in the deep South seceded and formed a new nation, the Confederate State of America. So the Civil War has finally got owned that. And then in the year of April 14, 1865, assassination of Abraham Lincoln, murderous attack on Abraham Lincoln the 16th President of United States at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. on the evening of April 14, 1865, shot on the head by Confederate sympathizer John Welk Booth. Lincoln died the next morning. Actually, why was Abraham Lincoln assassinated? He became the first person to assassinate an American president when he shot and killed Abraham Lincoln in his box of fruits theater in Washington. Okay, in the box of theater. Actually, a supporter of slavery. The Booth delivered that Lincoln was determined to overthrow the Constitution and to destroy his beloved South. This is the reason the person murdered Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a supporter of slavery. Okay, a supporter of slavery, but Abraham Lincoln was the opposition to the slavery. A supporter of slavery, the person name is Whit's Booth. Okay, so he believed that Lincoln was decided to overthrow the Constitution and to destroy his beloved South. So this is the reason he just killed the person, Abraham Lincoln. It was held at morning 7:22 a.m. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of United States, dies from a bullet wound inflicted the night before by John Wilkes Booth, an actor and Confederate sympathizer. The president's death came only 6 days after. So Walter Whitman wrote the poem after assassination of Abraham Lincoln. That means day 5. Okay, after Confederate General Booth, who remained in the North during the war with Confederate sympathizer, initially plotted to capture President Lincoln and take him to Richmond, the Confederate capital. So he was died in the year of 1865, 14th April. So for this purpose, only Walter Whitman wrote an LG form, that is OCapatain, my captain. I hope you all enjoyed this class. So today's class we have saw that who is Walt Whitman, how he started his career, and what are the negativity he had, and then what is an LG, and what is about OCapatain, my captain, about Civil War, about Abraham Lincoln. So these things we were seen today's class. We have seen in this classes. So I think you're all enjoyed. Thank you for watching. If you have any doubt, ask in the comment section.